We are in preseason TWAB, dropping tons of news mode again this week. This time we have notes on Traction, Exotic Armor, Finder, and Scav mods, a new mod called Holster, Warmind cells, and Elemental Wells. A lot to get to today. First up is Traction. Traction is basically a console-only thing since people on mouse and keyboard can simply turn quickly with their mouse. Controller players can't turn quickly on a controller. Therefore, to get that speed, you had to use Traction no matter what, and it felt completely wasted and it was very annoying. So they've removed the mod completely. They've increased sensitivity options on controllers so that it now goes up to 20, with 1 through 10 being the same as it is now. They added an ADS sensitivity modifier and a sprint turn speed scaler option. So hopefully that solves you always having to use Traction on your boots, controller players. No comment from me, good stuff, provided that this change does what it's actually supposed to do. Next up, we have exotics with super energy regeneration capabilities. Oh boy. So, the super regen exotics, they're really good. Ursa's is basically free super for you and your team for entire Nightfall runs. It's the same with Phoenix Protocol. Then you got Shards and Skull doing their thing. They're really good, and something like Ursa's completely trivializes GM Nightfalls. Therefore, Shards, Ursa, Skull of Dara, AHAMKARA, and Phoenix Protocol now cap out at 50% super energy returned no matter what. That is the new maximum. Shards and Skull had their amount of energy per hit increased, so there's a higher minimum for those exotics now. STORMDANCER'S Brace is getting super regen added to it, which is a huge buff for that. And finally, Geomag Stabilizers, unfortunately, is having its sprint to top off mechanic removed. It had too much uptime in PvP, and the free energy allowed you to spam finishers with mod effects with no drawback whatsoever. We got a lot to go over, so we're going to do thoughts in the second half of the video. It's all timestamped, you know the drill. Next up, we have some exotics getting retuned and reworked. Hunters are getting the Bombardiers, Graviton, Forfeit, and Lucky Pants. Titans get Precious Scars and ICEFALL Mantle, and Warlocks get VERITY'S Brow, the Stag, and PROMETHIUM SPUR. The Bombardiers, the current function is dropping an explosive when you dodge. No one's using them. The bomb will now have a secondary function depending on your subclass. Blinding for Arc, Burning for Solar, Slow for Stasis, and Suppression for Void, although Suppression will not work on a Guardian in a super. Graviton Forfeit increased bonus invis duration. The melee regen speed is now increased based on the number of enemies around you, and while invisible, your recovery is greatly increased and you reload faster. Lucky Pants now has an intrinsic hand cannon holster mod, which we'll cover in a minute, and they're replacing the previous function of the exotic with this new one. When you ready a fully loaded hand cannon that deals kinetic damage or damage matching your subclass energy type, for a short time, each hit against a combatant from that hand cannon increases the damage of the next shot. Precious Scars will now also create a burst of healing and bonus recovery around you whenever you kill an enemy with a weapon whose damage type matches your subclass type. ICEFALL Mantle had its slower class ability recharge scaler completely removed. VERITY'S Brow increased grenade damage bonus to 20% per stack, up from 10%, and the trigger is now when you get a weapon kill that matches your subclass energy type. It is not just energy weapons anymore. The Stag gives damage reduction to allied guardians standing in your rifts, 25% against PvE and 15% against PvP. Finally, PROMETHIUM SPUR has an added function. While standing in a rift, solar weapon kills give you class ability energy. When your class ability energy is full, solar weapon kills consume that energy and spawn a combination healing and powering rift at the target's location. Next up, Finders, Scavengers, and Holster mods, new mod. Scavenger mods trivialize the ammo economy. You basically never run out of ammo. Add in special ammo finisher and you are set for life. Bungie is finally reducing their potency. Ammo finder mods now have an increased chance to spawn ammo on kills with primary weapons, and a further increased chance with exotic primaries. Bungie has said that they're looking to improve ammo finders for special and heavy ammo in PvE. Scavenger mods no longer stack. 2 of the same copy will do nothing for you starting in Season 15. Holster is a new mod which gradually reloads stowed weapons of the matching type over time, with multiple copies increasing this rate. It feels like the reconstruction perk, essentially. All weapon types, minus rocket launchers, breech-loaded GLs, aka special ammo GLs, and bows will have this mod. They do not want to affect any weapon that has a mag size of 1, which I think is totally fine, and hand cannon holster excludes Ariana's Vow. Next up, Warmind cells. Spoiler alert, they're still absolutely insane. They were initially designed with the intent that they would go away after a year, so it was fine that they were so strong for as long as they were. Since they're not going away anymore, Bungie has to rein them in with what they should be like for a mod that's staying around forever. And man, did they get slapped. Base Warmind cells, explosion radius down to 6 meters, it was 10. Damage of Warmind cells used to be 200 to 400, it is now 50 to 250. Global reach now costs 3 energy, and the radius increase is now 10 meters down from 20. Warmind cells with global reach were 30 meters! Oh my god. Cellular Suppression's effect now lasts 2 seconds instead of 3, and Wrath of Rasputin's solar damage bonus is now 25 to 100 instead of 100 to 200. Ouch. Finally, elemental wells are getting made slightly more competitive. They now have a better chance to spawn when killing higher tier enemies, and Font of Might's base duration was increased to 10 seconds, and the bonus damage is now 25%, up from 10%. Actually, finally, Iron Banner is finally getting a new armor set next season, the Iron Forerunner set, with each piece giving you a small chance at an enhancement prism at the end of an Iron Banner match, capping at 4 pieces. Whew, okay, a lot of stuff going on here, let's talk thoughts. Super energy regen exotics. These nerfs do not surprise me at all, although it did feel like the worst PvE offender was Ursa Furiosa. You could block a pitiful amount of damage and still get like 80% of your super back, not to mention constantly regenerating orbs for your team. Phoenix Protocol is almost in the exact same situation, it's just not as mobile. Shards and Skull feel unwarranted, but I'm guessing that's because they're not as insane as Ursa or Phoenix right now, so it's probably sort of a preemptive thing. People aren't using Blade Barrage that much right now, so it feels like a kick in the no-no zone, but it's probably for consistency purposes. Stormdancer's Brace getting a buff is great, though. And Geomags, yeah, very unfortunate. It was really good in both PvE and PvP. The uptime was getting to be just a bit too much. I think Geomags will still be used in PvE for the increased super duration. I don't know, maybe it'll still be used a little bit in PvP as well, but definitely not even close to the degree that it is right now. All that being said, most of these are going to continue to be used because even with those nerfs, they're still really good. Like 50% on an Ursa is still really strong. On a Phoenix Well, it's still really strong. It's not like people are going to stop using Well of Radiance or Barrier Shield as a result of these nerfs. These are still going to be used a lot. I expect usage changes to be 0. It's going to stay the same. Honestly, it would probably just be a better idea to rework all of these exotics and completely phase out the super energy regen mechanic altogether, but that's much easier said than done. Okay, individual exotics. Bombardiers getting what is almost an actual grenade on their dodge now. It's pretty interesting. I think it opens up the space a little bit for what these boots are capable of, especially with Top Tree Night Stalker, where you can just dodge to go invis. Not sure it's going to be enough to push them into Limelight status, but it's much more of a finesse option for sure. Maybe not super Omega GM endgame, but like Legend Master kind of content. Graviton Forfeit. Ultimately, my thoughts on this will depend on how quickly you can get your melee charge back. In PvE, there isn't really that much of a reason to go invisible for a super long period of time, although Graviton would get you back to the action much faster with the increased recov and reload speeds. In endgame, invis is more about utility with heart of the pack, or just getting out of a bad spot, and most invis effects that we have right now are just fine for that. In PvP, invis is a lot more valuable, and that's where I could see it getting a boost, but with no nerfs to movement exotics, this is also going to remain a niche item. Lucky Pants. This all depends on how much damage we're talking about, but I am very interested. It seems like Hawkmoon isn't exactly going to get boosted from these pants. Bungie says, quote, Hawkmoon won't be able to one-shot a raid boss with these legs. Other hand cannons will get a fun edge in combat though, end quote, which implies that Hawkmoon won't really get these bonuses. Also, this effect will not work in PvP, confirmed on Twitter. I want to see the damage increase first, but these have, I would say, somewhat big potential. Precious Scars giving healing. The fact that it only takes 1 kill to activate this effect seems pretty insane. Imagine people just dashing around spamming swords with each other, constantly healing. It's maybe not the best GM Nightfall strat in the world, but still. Depends on the radius of the heal as well. It also has some PvP implications depending on how big the heal is. You know, healing after a kill, as we've learned, pretty good. ICEFALL Mantle getting the slower class recharge removed is a good step forward for this thing, but I still think it's going to have pretty low or niche usage because of the complete loss of your movement capabilities. VERITY'S Brow, more grenade damage per stack, although going from any energy weapon kill to now having to match the element kinda sucks. I'm not sure I'm really super down with the whole matching element situation just yet on a lot of these perks and mods and stuff. I don't know, it kind of bugs me in a way that I imagine people are annoyed with having to use specific champion mods season over season, but I am interested in seeing this with the new handheld supernova buffs. The STAG, very, very neat change here. I think this is going to make Rifts way better in endgame content, but 15% less damage in PvP can be a pretty big deal on top of already regenerating your health in a Rift. I've always thought the original version of the STAG was slept on, the energy gains anyway, but assuming this new effect is in addition to its current effects, you're going to see a lot more Rifts in PvP. This is going to be really annoying when you see it. PROMETHIUM SPUR, I think, needs a little bit of clarification before I can come to judgment on it. It has a good effect. Solar weapon kills give class energy, but when it's full, solar weapon kills consume that energy and spawn a double healing empowered rift at the target's location. So does it completely use all of your ability energy to drop a rift at the target's location? Does it use some? Do I still have access to my own rift that I would like to drop? Having my energy wasted on a rift that drops like 50 meters away seems really annoying, and I think people would want to have agency over their rifts, so I want to see the logistics of this exotic first. Moving on, scavenger mods. It's been a long time coming. They are very strong. They're a big reason that I think the Crucible is the way that it is right now as well. You don't need to care about ammo in PvE with scav mods, you just don't. You still don't with special ammo finisher. Maybe now people actually start using that mod again. But PvP, the reason people are running rampant with specials is because you can. There's just so much ammo to be found with these scav mods. You can use a special weapon for an entire match. This change will hopefully reduce the amount of special weapon usage in the Crucible. That is mainly what I am looking for next season. How much the Crucible will change with scavs nerfed. I'm interested to see how much the community accepts holster mods. They seem pretty neat, just need to see what their regen speeds are like. Maybe you do 1 scav, 1 holder now. Not really sure just yet on how good they will end up being. Warmind cell nerfs. If you did not see this coming, I don't know what to tell you. You basically only needed global reach for most things in the game. 1 energy cost for absolute complete destruction of all of your enemies. A nerf was definitely going to show up sooner or later, and it's finally here. Maybe they'll still be somewhat good. I'm definitely going to play with them next season to see how they are, but enjoy them now in their omega insane state while you can. Finally, elemental wells. Not sure if these buffs are going to do a whole lot for wells. The buffed spawn rate depends on how good the spawn rate actually is, but I think people are mainly hung up on the very specific conditions you need to hit in order to spawn wells. The community hasn't really adopted them just yet, neither have I. You know, we'll take another look at them in Season 15. Okay, good stuff here. Love to see some exotic buffs, love to see some tweaks. I think most things listed here today are very justified. I don't really have a big problem with anything that I saw here today. Sorry if this seemed a little bit rushed. I'm still packing my house for the move. I've been doing it every day, constantly. I'm so tired. Please help me. Thanks very much for watching. I'll see you next time.